everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel. Today is Friday, so hope you've had a great week and I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm sure you all are too. But for today's video, I wanted to do a top 5 Friday of true crime books that I want to read. So these are all going to be books that I have not read yet. With true crime, I really find myself infatuated with true crime. The psychology of it, the mystery behind some of it, like the Zodiac Killer and things like that. I don't know why I'm drawn to such macabre things about real life people being murdered in horrible, horrible ways, but I am. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weird. I know lots of people enjoy true crime, if that's the correct word for it. I guess we all have that air of intrigue and mystery about us, wanting to know more without having to actually deal with that kind of stuff personally. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I have really not read much true crime. I've watched a lot of true crime TV shows and documentaries and stuff, but I haven't read much true crime at all. And I really want to change that. I want to dive more into true crime books. Probably my favorite true crime book that I have read is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I listened to that one on audiobook, I think last year. I really enjoyed it. It was an amazing read. And the narrator did a fantastic job on the audiobook. While listening to that, I did find myself, double checking my doors at night to make sure they were locked and whatnot. It was a bit creepy. But anyway, we'll go ahead and dive into it. So these are my top 5, in no particular order, true crime books that I want to read. First up is Mindhunter, Inside the FBI's Elite Serial Crime Unit by John E. Douglas and Mark Olshaker. This is what the TV show Mindhunter on Netflix was based off of. I've seen the show both seasons. I really love the show. I was sad when it was canceled, but there's rumors it's supposed to be coming back for season 3, so hope that's true. Also, the character Jack Crawford from Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon by Thomas Harris was inspired by John E. Douglas, the real FBI guy. So if you've seen the show, you probably know what this book is about. John E. Douglas, he worked with the FBI, the psychological profiling of serial killers and murderers and whatnot. The psychology of it all, delving into their minds, trying to profile them and pick out a pattern as to how they can maybe solve future crimes, patterns and all that kind of stuff, delving really into the psychology of what makes a killer and their patterns and all that kind of stuff. It sounds really interesting, so I really love the show, so I want to read the material that it was based off of. So my first pick is Mindhunter by John E. Douglas and Mark Olshaker. Up next is American Predator, The Hunt for the Most Meticulous Serial Killer of the 21st Century by Maureen Callahan. I never really heard of this person before. The killer's name was Israel Keyes. I don't know if he's still alive or not. I'd have to look it up. But he was basically considered to be have unprecedented behavior by the FBI. One of, like the title says, the most meticulous serial killers basically of all time. He would have these kill kits stashed around in different places across the United States, where you'd have, cash, money, weapons, ways to dispose of bodies and whatnot. And I think over a period of like 14 years, he would travel all across the United States to where he had these kill kits stashed. He'd abduct people, kill them, and then he'd dispose of the body and then go back home to, I believe he lived in Alaska. So this one sounds very interesting. The amount of planning that this serial killer, Israel Keyes, went through to enact his evil, if you want to call it that, sounds very interesting. I really want to know more about it. So my number 4 pick is American Predator, The Hunt for the Most Meticulous Serial Killer of the 21st Century by Maureen Callahan. Book number 3 is The Stranger Beside Me by Ann Rule. I'm sure everyone has heard of this one. I'm sure everyone's heard of all these books. These aren't anything new. But The Stranger Beside Me by Ann Rule, it's the autobiographical tale and biographical tale of herself and the serial killer Ted Bundy. Ann Rule, she knew Ted Bundy. She was actually his co-worker. They worked on a crisis hotline. I believe it was a suicide crisis hotline together. So she saw him every day, was sort of friends with him, knew him personally, but also did not know Ted Bundy at all. So she was working with him while he was killing all of these people and had, I guess, no inkling as to what his true nature was really like. So this one sounds really interesting to come from the perspective of someone who knew the serial killer, who wasn't like the mom or the dad, but just a friend, a co-worker of the serial killer, and seemingly had no earthly idea of the actual evil that this person was capable of. Hence sort of the name, The Stranger Beside Me. You might think you know people, but do you really know people as well as you think you do? So this one sounds really interesting. One of the bigger true crime books out there probably, but I wanted to read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. Book number 2 is Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI by David Grann. This one's actually being made into a movie by Martin Scorsese. It's going to be by the same title, Killers of the Flower Moon. This one, it took place in the 1920s, if I remember correctly, and the Osage Nation in Oklahoma were some of the wealthiest people in all the United States at the time. They had chauffeured automobiles, they had huge mansions, they sent their kids away to Europe to study school and go on vacation and whatnot. And it was found out that beneath the land that the Osage Nation owned, there was a bunch of oil, which was going to be worth millions and millions of dollars. I don't know how much back then, but lots and lots of money. And so there was this conspiracy, plan that was put together to start killing off the members of the Osage Nation so other people could take over their land and then inherit the oil and gain the riches from that. It was supposed to be like a really big conspiracy. The FBI, like it said, was brought in. J. Edgar Hoover was involved and whatnot. And they started finding out that people were being shot and murdered and slowly poisoned over the course of a couple of years or so. I'm not sure on the exact time frame, to kill them off, to take their land basically and get the riches of the oil beneath it. It sounds really interesting. I guess, I don't know if this is really considered true crime as the other ones, where it's like one specific person being the serial killer, but I guess it is. I'm leaving it on the list because it sounds very sad, but also very interesting as well. And you don't really hear much about this one at all. I'm sure you'll hear more about it once the movie comes out and it sort of blows up and whatnot. This is one of the smaller ones, I guess you could say, that you don't really hear much about. You hear about Ted Bundy and, the Zodiac Killer and all that kind of stuff. You don't really hear about this incident very much. It took place in the 20s. It was a Osage Nation, Native Americans being killed off, so maybe it sort of swept under the rug some, kind of. But I want to read Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI. It sounds really interesting. That's my number 2 pick for true crime books I want to read. And the number 1 book on this list, if there was a Mount Rushmore of true crime, this one would probably be the biggest head on that monument. But I want to read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, I believe is how you say his name. Possibly, I'm not sure. This one is about the 1959 murder of the Clutter family in Holcomb, Kansas. Basically, there was no motive. There were really no clues left behind. Someone broke into the Clutter family house and shot them all point blank with a shotgun, killed all 4 members of the family. So this is the story of the investigation, the trial, the execution, the crime, as a whole of that particular incident of the murders of the Clutter family. I've just finished reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and they talked about this book a lot in there. The women in the book club read In Cold Blood quite often throughout the book. And this is one I've heard lots and lots of things about, so that's why it's at the top of my list. I said there were no particular order, but this one would be my number 1. But I want to read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. And that's it. That's been my top 5 list of true crime books that I want to read. If you've read any of these and you liked it, didn't like it, let me know down in the comments. I'm sure there's tons of suggestions out there, recommendations for other true crime books. If you have any that you think I should check out, also let me know down in the comments. I'm going to start making a list of these books and slowly making my way through some of these. I'll probably do most of them on audiobook if I can find them. I like to ingest true crime that way. I don't know why. But that's all I have for you guys today. My top 5 true crime books I want to read. Again, it's Friday. Hope you have a great Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. But again, my name is Brad. Thanks for spending your time with me today, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.